Hello, folks. So today's guest is Glenn Carroll. Glenn is a hotel consultant, so excited to chat to him. 30 years experience in the industry, including 7 years as VP Commercial Europe at IHG, responsible for 80 plus hotels across 6 brands, 26 countries, a very impressive CV and opening hotels as well. So Glenn, with all that experience behind you, if you could just tell me a little bit about what you're doing today.
Yes, and so IHG, I left IHG in 2018 because I thought I'd grow up a bit and maybe do things my way for myself. So I set up my own company. I took some time off for a year, and then I set up my own company in 2019. I work completely alone. I don't have a team of people, and that was my choice to just work solo. But I can't do everything. So as I go through some of the jobs I have, I need assistance. I may need somebody to just tweak something that I don't quite know about. So even though I know a lot, I don't know everything. So I work on an associate basis with some. So I started off on my own. I got my first client as soon as I started, which was great, but and it was IHG person, which is how it goes. I tend to work word of mouth, and I do quite simple things. So I work on only the commercial side. I'm not an operational person at all. So if someone wants me to iron out their F&B, their chef, their kitchen, their housekeeping, I don't do any of that. I purely look after how to make a hotel commercially successful. And I tend to do 2 projects, one of which is new hotel, brand new, not yet open. And quite often I work with independent hotels where the hotel may be owned privately, but the owner plus the entourage has no clue what to do to get it open. So I will often work with them for some period of time, so often 9, 12 months to get the hotel up and running. And I'm very clear that I will either be on property and be a bit more hands-on, or I'll be a bit more remote, and I will give you the template for you to follow and give you all the guidelines to follow, and then I'll leave you alone. Then I'll come back maybe 3 months or 6 months later to just say, how's it going? And do you need some revisions, some tweaking? Did it work? Did it not work? The second part to the equation is I work with hotels that are already existing, but something's gone wrong, maybe. So I'll work with the hotel that may say to me, we're not performing as we should. What's wrong? And I treat it very much like a medical analogy. So I think I'll diagnose the problem. So the hotel comes to me, so the patient has gone to the doctor. I'll diagnose what's wrong, come up with a treatment plan, maybe find a couple of specialists, treat you, and then see, are you cured? In other words, is your hotel now performing? Sometimes the hotel is performing, but they want to increase their exposure to the market. So they may be considering either joining a commercial partner, like leading or small luxury hotels or preferred. I'm not sure if that's the right route, or they want to take the whole plunge and go with the management contract, either franchise or managed with one of the big boys, with Hilton, Marriott, Melia, HG, Accor, and they're very nervous of doing so, but they don't know whether it's the right thing for them, and they're also slightly alarmed at how much it's going to cost them. So what's the cost-benefit analysis of doing it? So I tend to work on that side as well.
So you've touched on 3 very important areas, Glenn, there. So I'd love to try and go through them actually a little bit independently. So the independent hotels, diagnosing a hotel independent or otherwise in terms of its main problems. And then if a hotel is considering joining one of the large players, what does that look like? So to go right back to the independent, what can independent hotels learn from the big players? You've sort of seen behind the scenes of how large hotel groups run. Is there a kind of common problem that the independent hotels just get wrong?
Yes. So I would say most of the independent hotels I meet tend to think that the business is just going to come to them just because they've opened their door. And they tend to ignore some of the basics. So they tend to ignore that they have competition. They don't believe they have any competition at all. They tend to hire the wrong people. They have no clue about distribution. They think Booking.com is God's gift to creation, and I try to prove otherwise. So they have a mess up with their channel. They don't understand market segmentation. They think that all the business is going to flood through the door without realizing how do you get the if you're going to target people by geography, how do you target them by geography? How do you get business from Germany and business from Italy if your hotel is independent in Croatia? And they tend to think, well, it will just come anyway. Well, it won't. They've never heard of you, and you're invisible to the market. So my whole approach to them is to say, you'll never be one of the big boys. But the beauty of you being a little independent hotel is you work in a league of your own. And I often say there's a beauty to being independent because you haven't got the pressure of working for all the rules and regulations that will come down to you if you're Accor, Hilton, Marriott, and IHG. There's a beauty to both sides of it. But I often say to an independent hotel, and some of the hotels I work with are one of them's only got 17 rooms, and one of them has 55 rooms, and one of them has 30 rooms. But if you're a 17-bedroom hotel, you don't need to work like one of the big boys. You are unique and you're beautiful as you are, but you still need to do things correctly. So when I meet them, I'll often say, well, I'm going to take you through a formula which will make things very clear to you. So I say to Mr. or Mrs. Independent Hotelier, what's your current situation? Sometimes the hotel may not be open. If it is open, what's your current situation? So where do you sit in the market? What's your concept doing? Take me through all your metrics, all your numbers, who does everything for you. Tell me about your channel. They often say, what's that? Take me through your segmentation. And then the frightening thing will be that I'll often say, what's that? Where does the business come from now? And where would you like it to come from? Because whatever you say will make me think, yes, I could do that. I can help you, or no, you're deluded. Then we'll move on to where do you want to get to? So today you're here, you want to go there. What's your objective? So tell me, if you say to me, my objective is a 6% revenue increase in the next 2 years, I'll automatically think that sounds sensible. I can get you there. If you say my revenue increase is 25, I'll fall off my chair, and then I expect you to fall off your chair because it's not possible unless you close your hotel and you reopen something else. So we need some realistic objectives. So where are you now? What's your objective? And then I'll take them through their strategy as the big boys would and say to an independent hotel, I'm going to write you a strategy by market segment. And I'll say to them, all market segmentation is identical in every hotel in the world. So I'm going to take you through the segmentation that Marriott uses, she uses. You must use it because it's the approved way of segmenting a hotel worldwide. This will often cause stress and depression in the client. Say, of all the 13 segments, you may not need all 13 because if you're a small 17-bedroom hotel, there may only be 3 segments. If you're a 600-bedroom hotel in the center of Paris, you need all 13. But let me help you go on. I don't want to frighten them, but they have to have all 13. Then I'll move on to the segmentation by channel.
And if I can pause you there, Glenn, if you don't mind. So when you say the 13 segments.
Yeah, so there'll be the best available rate or the public rate, whatever term all the hotels call it something different. Whereas an IHG boy, I would have called it the best available rate. Then you'll go into discounted rates, so the discount from best available rate. Then you've got your qualified rates. You then got your locally negotiated rates, your LNRs, your KNRs, your local ones, and your key account rates. Then you've got your tour operator rates. You've got your group rates, your meetings rates, your air crew rates, etc. But there are 13 that all hotels use. So if they're going with the USALI way of doing things, uniform system of accounts for the lodging industry, which all hotels should abide by, then there are 13 and you can't invent your own. They are the 13 that all hotels use. A lot of independent hotels don't. Or they only have maybe 2 segments. They say leisure and weddings. Well, weddings isn't really a segment.
Okay. And then I guess you were moving into the next division of those segments.
Yes.
Which is, so I guess, so you would basically try and, okay, we don't need all 13. Let's find the most suitable for you. And let's now divide into channel.
Well, the second is one thing. And then I say to get them to come to you, you need your channel. But then I say, so your channel will be the pipes that lead into your hotel and each pipe will pump in business depending on the channel that you've connected to. So quite often the hotel will say, how do I connect to all these channels? Because you can't connect to the channel unless you are either, so if you join a brand, it's automatic. If you go with someone like Leading or Preferred or something, it's automatic. But when you're independent, you're cut off from all these channels. So you're going to sign an OTA agreement with Booking.com, etc. How do you get any GDS business into your hotel? You're not going to get any unless you have a channel manager, and then you'll have your direct bookings, which will come to you through your own website. Also, if you want to have business coming to you through a business travel agent, none of them will book you unless you have your channel connectivity to them. So then the hotel will get this is when the hotel gets slightly alarmed, thinking, my God, there's so much to it. And I think, yes, there is. Because I've met hotels that have signed an agreement with so this is the true story. I sat with the hotel, looked at their data, 80% of their revenue is through Booking.com. The client says to me, this is my best client, it's fantastic. And I said, this is absolutely horrific, because in your hotel, you shouldn't have more than 12%. My calculation was, you shouldn't have more than 12% of your business from the OTA. The only reason you have loads of OTA business is because you have no connection to anything else. The OTA is completely abusing you. And do you know that you pay commission to the OTA? Do we? Yes. You're paying 18 or 20% commission. Why don't we do something where all the bookings come to you direct and you pay nothing? So your cost of acquisition is a major thing for you to look at. And I will reduce your cost of acquisition if you follow my advice, my plan. So I do all the segmentation, I do all the channel, direct, business travel agents, OTA, GDS. Now, not all the hotels need GDS, because if you're a little 15-bedroom hotel on the side of a mountain in Montenegro, you don't need GDS. I mean, you may get 1 or 2 bookings a year, but it's nothing to sweat over. But I then encourage them to do all this yourself. It's just too much hard work. Why don't I connect you to a channel manager, and that overnight will connect you to everything that you need, and it will be a miracle, because once you connect, your hotel will be flooded with reservations that you've never seen before.
Can you give us some examples on that, Glenn? When you talk about direct, are we getting into marketing and sales, or is this?
Yes.
It is. Okay. Could you give us some examples on that?
We're getting into marketing and sales, and also to say to the client that, so is the marketing through your own website. The sales will come to you directly. So you may have a MICE business that comes to you directly because you have a salesperson concentrating on that. Your locally negotiated corporate rates may come through that channel. And so if you're chasing JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs, there's going to be a cost to that because they're going to come to you through GDS. But the little hotel I'm talking to in Montenegro, they don't want JP Morgan, and JP Morgan are never going to book you anywhere. The direct business will come. How do you play your website yourself? How do you make sure that it's correct? It's in the right languages. It's user-friendly. You can navigate it. Do you use meta search? Are you using Google Maps, Google Ads? All your ways that you can market through distribution is the way that you will be found. Do you have search engine optimization? Is that correct? When you look at yourself, are you ranked fairly highly in the rankings, or are you on page 4? In which case, if you're on page 4, you can kiss goodbye to your bookings. So you need to have somebody in your operation that's working with you who is able to manage your website. So not just what does it look like visually, but what's its connectivity? How is it available? How is it connected to the public so that they're able to find you and book you? And then is it the right target market? So are you targeting the right people? Because you could be spending a ton of money on a market that's never going to book you anyway.
And are we getting into the crux of it, Glenn? Is that where things might start getting complicated for independent hotels or even large independent hotels where Meta, Google Ads, SEO, now GEO, and endless other marketing streams to find sort of talented people or even agencies that A, do it to a high standard, but then B, have someone in the hotel to even gauge if they are doing it to high standard, which I always feel it's the latter one that causes most complexity, because it's been it's been handed to an agency which on paper appears to be a genuine design agency that send through reports once a month saying they're doing things. But of course, no one in the hotel is really checking them or analyzing them and doesn't really know if is this a good price? They don't know if are we being ripped off or not. So how do we get into the gray of all the talent it takes to run a marketing department like that?
I would potentially divide it well, it depends on how big that hotel is. So I will say to an independent hotel, your channel manager is the connection that you will have to the world. But that is a technical interface. But how it works and how they connect you to everything that's what you paid them for. But internally, you need somebody that is then able to manipulate the system. Because if you're opening rates, closing rates, you have a demand problem, your demand is really high, then suddenly you lose a great big booking and your demand is really low. The channel management company is not going to do anything, but you need to have the talent inside. Most of the time, I'd say to a hotel, it is really worth you within your commercial resource that you have. Someone's going to be doing direct sales, which tends to be the local market or maybe your neighboring countries. Somebody within that team has to be responsible for your distribution. So how are you going to manage these channels on a daily basis? That sort of marketing, if you like, comes from this person being able to expose your hotel to the market. So it's not a physical person who's going out to meet anybody. It'll be technical. So I have two situations. I either have a hotel in Croatia who doesn't have the expertise, but they have an agency in Croatia that does it for them. In Montenegro, the hotel is able to do it themselves, but they didn't used to be. So they have the resource in-house to make sure that all their hotels are open to all the channels all the time, but focusing upon their direct business.
Were you helping, Glenn, can I ask, that in the in-house one, it was that Montenegro, that you're able to check the work in the sense that I can now help you gauge if your in-house team can do this? And then in the Croatia example, I will help you check if the agency are doing this. So are you sort of there to offer, I'll let you know if this is up to par?
Yeah, well, once I've implemented it, I'll sort of hang around for the next 2 to 3 months, and then I leave them to it. But for example, one of the, I haven't touched the hotel for about 2 years, but just recently the girl has been back in touch with me saying things are beginning to fall apart a bit. I'm not sure why. So can you come back and do an audit and tell me what's gone wrong? Because our revenue is beginning to slip back again, and our OTA is now increasing again, and our direct's gone backwards. Why?
So, yes, indeed. So, obviously, they're hard questions, and I'm trying to pin you down a little for my own selfish reasons. Is it very hard to pinpoint the issues here? Obviously, you can't simplify it down to it's sales or marketing or it's an OTA, but would usually, if you had to hang your hat on something, it's to do with standard of staff. And I suppose that phrasing sounds a little harsh, but that an independent hotel is expecting huge commercial results from a smaller commercial structure.
Yes. Well, they're no higher in a standard than if they're working for a group hotel. So, for example, in Montenegro, I work for Hilton and I work for independent hotels. The quality of the staff at Hilton are no better than the quality of staff in the independent hotel. It's just that when you work for Hilton, a lot of things are done for you automatically.
Exactly.
They're monster hotel companies and they're extremely skilled at what they do. And I say to an independent hotel, even though you're independent, you can still do the same thing, but you've got to find the talent to be able to do it. And it can't be, I'm going to offload this to my auntie or my cousin or something, which I do see as well. An independent hotel will say, my sister's good at that. And then she's had a baby, so now she's not doing it. But that's a real example. You need somebody who is in the business day to day, understands the numbers, works hand in hand with finance, works hand in hand with the operation. And in a small hotel, it is hard to find it, but you need somebody that is able to manage distribution, sales and marketing all in one. So I tend to give them the title, if I can find it, I tend to give people of the commercial manager or the director of commercial. Because if you say to someone, I'm the director of sales, to me, they're just doing sales. If you're the director of marketing, you're only doing marketing. If you're the director of commercial, your whole life is generating revenue for this hotel and reducing the cost of getting that revenue.
That's actually very powerful, even though it's sort of a small change in a title. I couldn't agree more. You need to try and become far more focused than the large players that don't have to. They've bigger budgets and can cast a wider net. So become very focused on a position or an offer, then target that market. And then, but the development of those offers and commercial strategies that allow a small hotel to go after them. Family hotels can actually do it, but other independent hotels, the marketing manager doesn't usually have the power to develop those type of offers or say to the hotel, how about we reposition or how about we go after, because it's sort of too big a decision and they get lost within the gaps of these titles.
Yes. And I mean, with a lot of the independents I work with, I'm quite firm with them. They say, for example, I work with a hotel which is husband and wife run. That tends to be he's not really on my side of the business. He's much more into the operation, the food, or the delivery of service. In this particular case, wife was sort of delving into the world of commercial on the fringes. So diplomatically, but also bluntly, I had to say, it ain't going to work. You need to hire somebody who is going to do this for you. Now, geographically, it can be a challenge because not in all of the places I work, you can't find the talent necessarily. So, for example, I mean, I tend to work in the Balkans quite a lot. So if I'm working in Croatia, I don't have a problem. If I'm working in Montenegro, it's slightly more challenging to find the talent. So it's going to come in from Serbia or Croatia. When I work in Albania, it's really different because they don't have that talent base. Nor can they hire in from international because then they are shocked at the amount of money they have to pay. But there are ways around it. So sometimes if it's a sales issue, I will say to them, my honest solution for you is you're never going to find a salesperson with the talent and the experience and the language capability that you need. So if you're selling in France, unless you speak perfect business French, you're going to get nowhere. The UK is a little bit more lenient, but you'll have to speak English when you come here, and you've got to speak German when you go to Germany, and preferably Italian when you go to Italy, and Spanish when you go to Spain. But I'm saying to the hotel, I know all these people are coming to you because they all have flights coming to your destination, and they're in your competition. And this is where it shocks them, because first of all, they deny there's any competition. And I always say, there is no such thing as no competition. So you do have competitors, and they are these hotels. Then they get very frightened if you are able to show them STR data and you show them all the data that's coming into the city or the destination. And I said, you're nowhere near it. But there's no point you taking on a salesperson who has a go in these markets. So my recommendation to you is I will find you the salesperson in Germany. I will find you the salesperson in the United Kingdom, and they will sell your hotel remotely in language, but they don't work for you. They will work on a fee basis, but they're not on your payroll. This is the best solution for you. And most independent hotels I work in that way because they can't afford to take on the headcount, and they can't afford to, in their P&L, to suddenly have 4 international salespeople on their payroll. It just doesn't make sense. They can find you somebody in the UK who's going to charge you maybe €3,000 a month, and they will be your salesperson in the United Kingdom, speaking perfect English to clients that you've never heard of. And they won't talk to you anyway because they don't even know who you are. So if you hire Glenn Carroll, by the way, I don't do this, but if you hire Glenn Carroll in the UK to do sales calls, I know who to sell to because I've been doing it for 30 years. Don't send your salesperson to the United Kingdom because they'll be like a fish out of water. There are solutions to everything to an independent hotel. Sometimes I ask the hotel when I first meet them, how much are you spending on commercial? And they often will say, I've no idea. So when I go through all their data and all their numbers, it can be as low as 0.5 or 0.8% of total revenue, which is a shockingly low figure. So I'll say, you're not spending any money on commercial, so you can't expect to be successful. If I can get that number up to 6% or 8%, so initially the owner will be shocked and I think I come from Mars. And then when I say, but if it's between 6 and 8%, this will be a menu of commercial tools that I guarantee will lift your revenue from that to that. Now, it may not be in the first few weeks of doing it. It's not going to be in the first few months. But let's look at a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan, 5 and 10. By the time you go through that, you do all of this, your numbers will go up and up and up.
And are you interchanging the word sort of commercial to marketing there, Glenn? Or would you see that there is a difference between a marketing problem and a commercial problem, a commercial strategy problem?
Commercial has underneath it sales, marketing, and distribution.
Okay. So
it has everything except revenue management, because revenue management is a skill on its own. So I never touch revenue management. Even in a relatively small hotel, I tend to say to them, if you can separate the two, it's a better idea. I said, because the commercial team, I describe my analogy as like a nightclub. And I say, if you go to a nightclub and you're standing in the queue, somebody has created awareness of this. They've created an interest that you have, and you desire to go there. So someone has got you into that queue, and that's going to be the sales, marketing, and distribution people. When you get to the door, who lets you in is revenue management, because they're going to deal with the pricing, the terms and conditions. They're going to put all the parameters around the rate, whether it's available or not available, how long for, seasonality. That's a very technical skill, and it isn't a commercial concern. So I separate the two because it does help the owner to understand. If I say, I'm generating the interest in your hotel, someone is going to decide who gets in.
And to push a little on that, Glenn, just to try and better understand, I guess from my perspective, that sort of positioning, I mean, if you've done so well in getting the queue, but the nightclub has decided to sell alcohol at £20 per drink, and it's sort of such a decision that isn't going to work. What's the division between I need to help set up your hotel here? Or how about I go back to your example of, yes, if the marketing budget that they've set aside is under 1%, that okay, we need to address this before we do anything. So how do you sort of create a 1-year strategy where, okay, before I try and even get people in the door on any channel, we don't have a budget. So we need to sort of set something up here to reposition your hotel in a different way. So is there structural problems within the hotel that you have to address first?
Yeah, most of the time they haven't got the right people. I'd say I've got my 3 Ps. So I'll say to an owner, I'm going to look after your performance. Mm-hmm. I'm going to set you up with all sorts of processes, but I'm also going to look at the people, because your people are either really lovely, but they don't know what they're doing, or they have the potential to know what they're doing, or it's never going to work. You need somebody else, or you need outsiders. I'm going to give you an agency and all this stuff. It's like when a hotel says to me, I'm doing my own PR. I always panic a little bit because I think, what do you mean? Because it's a speciality. And even the commercial, I mean, even I would say, I don't really do PR. I know exactly what it is and how to go about it. And I will stand up there on behalf of that hotel and talk to journalists. But I don't have the relationship with the journalist. That's a PR skill. And being able to write well is a PR skill. So if you want PR for your hotel, that's again somebody else that we need to find for you. And sometimes I'll find someone that can do everything. They can do sales, distribution, and marketing in a foreign country for you.
To sort of maybe veer off and ask maybe a silly question just on PR there, because obviously PR is one of the levers to pull, is an expensive one. So yes. Independent hotel, it's a 60-bedroom hotel. They're doing okay, but they've come to you saying, listen, we'd like to push. So, performance process people, where would you look first? If they don't have huge budgets, would PR be on the lower end of, one of the levers to pull?
Yes. To me, PR is in some ways it's essential. So if someone can write about your hotel, it gives you credibility if somebody else has written about it. It's more credible than me as your salesperson saying, believe me, this hotel is wonderful because I'm employed by you. But my way around it really with them is to say, you're not going to have a PR agency. This is going to cost you maybe like €6,000 a month. It's not worth it. But if you have a really good salesperson in the country, Germany, France, Italy, UK, whichever ones we've decided we're going with, normally the salesperson will sell to the travel agent or the tour operator, and they have their own PR people. So if they've decided to work with you, they will do the PR to their audience on your behalf. So you're not paying for it because it's all in the fee of the person that you've hired. But the travel agent, if they've decided, so I'm saying say a tour operator, the UK has a huge number of very upmarket tour operators, more so than any other European country. And if your hotel is good enough, you should be exposed to these people. But Glenn can get you exposed to these people. And as part of me doing it, their PR people will cover it because they decided they want this hotel. So don't go to a PR agency. Let's do it a different way. And you are small. So you don't need to be, you're not Claridge's after a refurbishment, which needs massive PR globally, not that level. So sometimes you need to play in the field that you're playing in. Don't be deluded, because a lot of the owners I work with, this quite sweet but deluded vision that their hotel is the best in the world. Yeah. So sometimes you have to say, it's like saying to somebody, your baby is not very pretty. They get really insulted. I'm saying to them, the hotel is really great at what it does, but don't try and be something that you're not. I look in the mirror every day. I could pretend I'm looking at Brad Pitt, right? But I don't. I see this face. So I know this is reality, right? I don't look at Brad Pitt. So when you look in the mirror, or your hotel looks in the mirror, you are not Claridge's. You are a really good independent hotel on the side of a mountain in Montenegro, and you will do really well if you follow this plan.
I'm glad of that answer as someone, who's got more experience than I. Because yes, it's a heated debate I've had with clients in the past, where it's not that, of course, as you said, PR isn't incredibly powerful. You could argue it's probably one of the most, when used in the right context of, as you said, a huge hotel. They've done a £2 million refurbishment. So absolutely, what's another 50 grand now to tell the country about what's happening and get, influencers or photographers at a high level. Like, I understand. But often, yes, sort of smaller independent hotels will use it. And it's just the price point. PR just seems to never be cheap enough for me. And obviously, as you said, 6,000 seems standard. Like, you're up at around 5, 6, 7,000 per month. And from a digital marketing perspective, that is such an enormous budget. So it's not that I'm against PR. It's just you're about to spend 50, 60, 70,000 pounds on a very simple method of marketing. And that, given to someone local, is huge.
With a lot of the clients, I have a traffic light system. So I say, once we've done their strategy by segment, by channel, by geography, and by client, I say, if this is going to be how we get there through these 4 things, the next thing is, how do we attract everybody? What are we doing to show off your hotel? And there is a menu of things you can do. And I'm going to traffic light them for you. And I'm going to give green to everything you should do, amber to things that are debatable, and red, something you must never, ever do. And they say, right, go. And I say, you will not advertise, will not do newspaper advertising, magazine advertising, spending 10 grand on a page in Tatler magazine. This is all utter rubbish for you. Not rubbish for somebody, but it is rubbish for you. Don't be tempted by it. Because I had an owner once who wanted to see their hotel in Tatler, Vogue, Condé Nast Traveler. And I said, why? I can understand why. It's like having your daughter on the front cover of Vogue, right? You have your hotel in these magazines. You feel it's prestigious, but you've wasted a ton of money on something that will occur once. So you're not doing it, nor are you doing sponsorship, nor are you doing this or that or that or that. But we will do all of the green, and most of the green will involve digital marketing because it's really cost effective. You're going to spend a ton of money on sales. A human who is going to talk to the right clients that you need from the countries that we've decided you're going to target. You are not going to go on a sales trip to Korea because there is no business. This is a real story. The client, the owner saw a coachload of Koreans in the city centre. So came back and said, Glenn, you need to do sales calls in Korea. Oh my God, why? I saw some Koreans in the city centre. Right. Well, that doesn't mean anything. Let's get realistic. The data tells me your clients are coming from, they'll always come from three sources. They'll come from your domestic market, your neighbors, meaning the people that have a border with you, and they will come internationally. They're the only three. And when it comes to international, you'll probably, with your size, only need 3 or 4 countries. Someone one day might come from Brazil. That's lovely, but we're not going to do anything in Brazil.
Yeah,
because
of course, absolutely.
You can't market your hotel worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
Hilton can market their hotels worldwide because they're Hilton or Marriott or Intercontinental or Accor. They're a different league altogether. But you can take elements of what they do and do it for yourself really well. My sort of concluding thing with the owner is always, you must realize what you are. And when you realize that and who your concept is, we can then put something together based on those, your segmentation, your channel, your geographic source of business, and the clients who are likely to book you. Because some clients will never book you in a million years. So don't touch them. They're looking for suites and where's the nearest airstrip for the helicopter to land and all that type of stuff. And are they able to put the gym into their suite because they're a celebrity and they don't want to go to the gym? That's not your market. Some hotels do that really well, to personalization. You can't do that. But one thing I will say about hotels that are independent, they tend to get personalization right, far better than some of the big boys because they are husband and wife teams or family run business and they tend to think in that way. I often tell the story of this independent hotel in Turkey that still sends me a birthday card, a Christmas card. And when summer's approaching, they handwrite to me saying, "Dear Glenn, we've not seen you for some time. Your room has your name on it and it's available." I mean, it's a really great way of marketing. Right. Now, the big boys are never going to do that. But when it comes to personalization, little hotels can do some wonderful things because they have the power to it. The big boys tend to leave it up to their loyalty schemes, which are superb. And operationally, once you get to the hotel, it's a different matter with one of the big 5-star deluxe hotels. But I always say to the small owners as well, what we're doing is not new and it's not a revelation, the things I'm going to tell you. It's a formula for you to follow because it works. But don't be frightened by it. But first of all, you must invest in it. So
Indeed.
People say, you want my hotel to be way more successful. Another small hotel I have has built 5 villas attached to their hotel. So I said, so how are we going to promote these villas? We're not. We'll just leave it to God, like nature. They'll do it. And I said, how is the market going to know you've got 5 new villas? I mean, you're charging €3,000 a night. This is a big thing. How are we going to promote it? We're not. We'll just leave it. Well, luck with that then. But let's examine it and let's see how we're going to push them. But yeah, it's not complicated what we do. It's very logical.
So Glenn, just to veer off, when does remaining an independent hotel become a commercial disadvantage? It's something you speak on the site of independent hotels maybe joining one of the mid-tier or actually going fully blown into one of the global players. How do they make that decision? That seems like a very scary decision for an independent hotel owner. How would you walk them through that process?
So my answer will be, every time I come across it, something is new every time I look at it, because I don't think I could say, this is the formula that I would apply. So if the hotel tends to be in a highly competitive market and is really big, being independent is going to be really hard work.
So size is it like
size is a major thing. Or if you're in a great big capital city. So if you were to open now an independent hotel in London of a fairly high standard, you are really going to struggle because London is London, New York, Tokyo, Amsterdam, Paris. They're a nightmare. They're hugely established. They're dominated by major brands. You don't really stand a chance. So even an independent hotel I was working with in Albania, it was 500 bedrooms. You are surrounded by other hotels way smaller than you. You are a monster. You cannot fill yourself as an independent hotel. I recommend strongly that you also don't go down the route of leading small luxury and all the rest of it because you're not good enough. They're not going to take you because physically your hotel is not their standard. The owner is really upset with this conversation. I recommend you are a franchised hotel with one of the big groups who has the ability to fill you, but the expectation from the market is not going to be very high when I put you with this brand as a franchised hotel, because I'm not going to put Intercontinental is not going to take your hotel as an Intercontinental. Marriott will never brand you a JW Marriott, and Hilton are never going to give you the Waldorf label. They might give you something. So if you look at a brand like IHG has 19 brands, Marriott now has like 54 or 34 or something. Accor has endless brands. I will find you somebody that you fit, but they want you and you want them. So sometimes being independent is a hindrance. But when you are, the opposite to that is a hotel that I work with in Croatia, which is small, incredibly well done, physically a beautiful hotel, a Michelin-starred restaurant, and a vineyard, and a beach, and there's no other. You don't need the big boys. Don't go anywhere near Hilton, Marriott, or anything. They have no clue what to do with your hotel. Being independent is beautiful, and as long as you have people in your hotel which are able to manage the distribution and the channel, and you take my advice and you have the salespeople that you need in Germany and the UK and everything else, your hotel has all it needs. You look after the operation, you run a beautiful hotel with wonderful food and great staff, keep going, and I will bring you the guests that will appreciate it. Don't get integrated with booking.com because you don't need them. You do need them, but you don't need them in great quantities. When you are super high-end, in this hotel is an average rate of 700 euros. You do not need booking.com. Someone will book you through booking.com, and that's great. But that's not your revenue should not be dominated by them because you're good enough to have it coming direct.
Amazing. Well, Glenn, last question. I've sort of become slightly fascinated with destination marketing. So I suppose it's a bit of a loaded question for me, but I feel like it's one of the marketing levers that independent hotels don't pull enough. When I was working in the last hotel, I really felt that marketing the hotel or marketing the locality, and it seemed more punchy and more cost effective. And I had so much more leverage to market the location than I did the hotel. What are your thoughts on that? Would you see that as something that works well for independent hotels?
Yes. So I always say to an independent hotel, when you've written your web copy or whatever you are doing, you must sell the destination first and then the hotel. Montenegro. A lot of people don't know Montenegro. I go on about Montenegro because, first of all, it's a stunningly beautiful country. Secondly, not many people know about it.
Mm-hmm.
This reason it's a bit hidden. When I say it's the hotel, you have amazing hotels. First of all, you should sell the destination because your hotel looks like Norway. Montenegro looks like a Norwegian fjord, and you have your hotel on the side of this. It's absolutely stunning. The food is amazing. The views are incredible. The service is spectacular. But people are going to look at the destination first. So people may say, I've heard all about Croatia, which is very well known these days, but not many people talk about Montenegro. It's like the new Croatia. So you need to talk about the destination yourself. But if you have the resources in the country, so you have the Montenegrin Tourist Board or you have Convention Bureau, you have to get into bed with these people because they're promoting the destination and you can fly on the coattails of that. In Montenegro, it doesn't work very well because they don't have that set up yet. But Croatia has a superb tourist board. Slovenia has a an immense resource behind promoting Slovenia. So when I opened a hotel in Slovenia, I said, you have to talk about Slovenia because it is so stunning. And you have to ride on the coattails of the tourist board because they're globally selling the destination and you can ride on the back of that. So destination is definitely the way to go when you're pushing an independent hotel.
Fantastic. Okay, well, that's great to hear. I mean, it seems like common sense to me, but as I said, it's amazing how many hotels don't do it. They focus on marketing hotel, which I understand why, because why am I spending time writing about beaches and mountains when I have to sell my hotel? I understand it. But as you said, that reputation as a place to go, it does take time, I suppose, to build. So of course the hotels have to take that on, that responsibility on. And that goes, I suppose, then that goes to countries. We're saying Montenegro, of course, as a whole country. From Ireland, I'm focused on a personal passion project of mine to try and get people to the west of Ireland. So yes, Ireland does well as a destination, and we probably punch above our weight in terms of a country. But to very particular parts of Ireland, there's then other areas that wouldn't get visited hardly at all, which is kind of where I'm from. So I have a big, idea that, you need to, the hotels have to take that responsibility to promote the smaller businesses that just can't, as in island hopping and surfing and horse riding, because they're even smaller than you. They have no budgets. They're not marketing themselves at all. And yet they're all part of the experience. Well, Glenn, thank you so much for chatting today. If anyone wants to find you or learn more about what you offer, if you want to point them in the right direction.
Yeah, so they can find me in, so my company is called Glenn Carroll Consulting. If you just Google that, or you just like Glenn Carroll, .co, you'll find me there. It tells you what I do. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn as well.